Binuksan ng mga lalaking nakatakipang mukha ang pinto ng isang convenience store.
Ano naman kaya ang habol ng grupong ito at sinaktan pa ang store clerk? Mga detalye ng balita, ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Martes ng gabi.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. dumating na sa Laos para sa ASEAN Summit.
Self-Reliant Defense Posture Revitalization Act, isa ng batas.
Vietnam at France pumasok na sa isang comprehensive strategic partnership.
Florida naghahanda na sa pagtama ng Hurricane Milton.
At US judge pinag-utos sa Google na buksan sa kompetisyon ang App Store nito. Si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa bansang Laos para sa 44th at 45th ASEAN Summits and related summit.
Inaasahang tatalakayin ni PBBM sa ASEAN Summit ang hinggil sa kasalukuyang pag-usad ng issue sa West Philippine Sea. Ayon sa Department of Foreign Affairs, higit pa sa ASEAN Summit ay bibistahin din ng Pangulo ang Filipino community sa Laos. Nasa 400 Pilipino ang inaasahang dadalo sa pagtitipon kung saan karamihan sa mga ito ay mga profesional sa hospitality industry. Sa October 9 naman, sasali si Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa ibang mga lider ng ibang bansa para sa opening at plenary session ng 44th ASEAN Summit na susundan naman ang 45th ASEAN Summit retreat session. Makikipagpulong din si PBBM sa ibang foreign officials sa sideline ng ASEAN Summit.
Iniulat ng Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA na isang Pilipino ang pinatawan ng parusang kamatayan sa Saudi Arabia dahil sa pagpatay sa isang Saudi national. Hinatulan ang Pilipino ng retribusyon para sa pagpatay sa Saudi national na may kaugnayan sa isang alitan sa pera. Ayon kay DFA Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega, hindi muna pinangalanan ng Pilipino at hindi nagbigay ng detalye ang ahensya upang igalang ang kahilingan ng pamilya nito. Samantala, sinabi naman ni Philippine Embassy sa Riyadh Charge d'Affaires, Romel Romato, na isinagawa ng pamahalang Saudi ang pagbitay ng walang abiso sa embahada o sa pamilya ng Pilipino. Ngunit, binigyan diin ni Romato na ginawa ng pamahalaan ang lahat na makakaya nito, kabilang na ang pagbibigay ng legal na representasyon at tulong ng kinauukulang ahensya sa buong proseso. Sumulat din si Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. kay King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud ng Saudi Arabia upang subukang iligtas ang buhay ng Pilipino.
Pirmado na ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang Self-Reliant Defense Posture o SRDP Revitalization Act. Layo ng batas na ito na palakasin ang depensa ng Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng pagpapalawig ng defense industry ng bansa.
Is about cultivating a robust and sustainable national defense industry. It establishes a structured approach to defensive development, starting with research and production capabilities that align our defense sector with our strategic objectives.
Kasama sa SRDP program ang mga material, capital equipment, spare part at accessories essential para labanan ng chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear at cyber attacks at incidents. Mula rin dito ay hindi na masyadong aasa ang bansa sa mga foreign military para sa acquisition ng mga armas.
Sinimula ng Philippine Air Force at ng Philippine Army ang 5 araw na interoperability o IOX exercise. 1,100 tauhan ng Philippine Air Force ang sumali sa IOX drills habang 351 tauhan naman na galing sa Philippine Army ang sumali. Ang training sa taong ito ay ginaganap sa Gamo Isabela, sa Rizal at sa Kalinga. Ayon kay PAF spokesperson Colonel Maria Consuelo Castillo, layo ng IOX exercises na mapahusay ang interoperability, combat readiness at operational efficiency sa pagitan ng Air Force at ng Army. Anya, nagsisilbing platform ang nasabing military drills para suriin at punihin ang mga joint tactics, techniques at procedures habang pinalalakas din ito ang kolaborasyon ng Philippine Air Force at Philippine Army, partikular na anya sa air-to-ground communications and coordination.
Binomba ng China Coast Guard o CCG vessels ang dalawang barko ng Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources o BFAR ayon sa ulat ng Philippine Navy. Sa isang pahayag na inilabas ng BFAR Martes ng umaga habang nasa gitna ng resupply mission ang BRP Datu Sanday at BRP Datu Cabaylo sa mga Pilipinong mangingisda sa Baho de Masinloc nang naganap ang harassment. Unang binuntutan ng CCG vessels at isang People's Liberation Army Navy vessel ang dalawang barko ng Pilipinas. Dito na itinutok ang water cannon ng CCG at saka pinatamaan ang mga ito. Tinukoy naman ng BFAR na hindi umabot ang water cannon ng CCG at naging matagumpay ang resupply mission ng mga ito sa mga Pilipinong mangingisda sa bisinidad ng Baho de Masinloc. Ang Baho de Masinloc o kilala rin sa tawag na Panatag o Scarborough Shoal ay nasa loob ng 200 nautical mile na exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas kung saan ay matatagpuan ito sa layong 124 nautical miles mula Masinloc, Zambales.
Pumalo na sa 607.38 million pesos ang halaga ng pinsala sa agrikultura sa Pilipinas dahil po yan sa pananalasa ng Bagyong Julian. Ayon sa bulletin na inilabas ng Department of Agriculture o DA, mas mataas ito ng 10.1% mula sa naitala noong October 4 na 551.81 million pesos na danyos. Apektado ang nasa 33,110 na magsasaka mula po yan sa Cordillera, Cagayan Valley at Ilocos. Habang nasa 25,407 metric tons naman ng agricultural commodities ang napinsala mula sa 17,344 hectares ng agricultural land. Samantala, pumalo na sa 100 million pesos ang danyo sa infrastruktura kung saan 92.68 million pesos dito ang irrigation facilities.
Nanumpana bilang Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary si dating Cavite Governor Juan Victor John Vic Remulla. Si Remulla ay papalit kay dating DILG Chief Benhur Abalos matapos itong bumitiw sa pwesto para tumakbo bilang senador sa 2025 elections. Tinukoy ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na kwalipikado si Remulla para harapin ang mga hamon ng isang pinakamahalagang trabaho sa pamahalaan. Sinabi rin ni PBBM na alam ni Remulla kung alin at ano ang mga dapat gawin para mapanatiling ligtas ang mga tahanan ng sambayan ng Pilipino at gawing dynamic frontliners ang serbisyo o ng serbisyo ang mga local governments.
Bumaba naman sa 4% ang naitalang unemployment rate noong Agosto ayon po yan sa Philippine Statistics Authority o PSA. Ayon sa ahensya, mas mababa ito kung ikukumpara sa naitalang unemployment rate noong buwan ng Hulyo na 4.7%. Ang 4% na naitala ng PSA ay katumbas ng 2.07 milyon na Pilipino ang walang trabaho. Samantala, nasa 96% naman ang employment rate ng bansa o 49.15 million Filipinos.
Nakatakda namang umuwi ng Pilipinas sa mga susunod na linggo ang 151 overseas Filipino workers o OFWs mula sa Lebanon. Bukod sa nasabing bilang ay inaayos na rin ng Department of Migrant Workers o DMW ang repatriation ng 235 OFWs na nais na ring umuwi ng Pilipinas. Anila, malinaw ang direktiba ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. at ito ay ang tulungan at tiyaking ligtas ang kalagayan ng mga OFW sa Israel, Lebanon, West Bank at Gaza. Dahil dito ay tiniyak ng DMW na patuloy pa rin tumatanggap ang kanilang opisina ng mga Pilipinong gusto ng lisani ng Lebanon dahil sa tumitinding bakbakan ng Israel at ng mga kalaban nitong Hamas at Hezbollah.
China posibleng maglunsad ng military drill sa palibot ng Taiwan.
Kim Jong-un sinabing nasa prioridad niya na gawing nuclear superpower ang North Korea.
At Javier Milei ng Argentina ay nakusahan ng plagiarism sa kanyang talumpati sa UN General Assembly. Mga detalye ng balita sa pagbabalik na mata ng Agila International.
I'm Art.
And I'm PJ.
Tara, samahan niyo kami.
Listen to our school's podcast.
At pag-usapan natin ang mga issues na mahalaga para sa ating mga teenagers.
Let's create art together in... Dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's net together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ayon kay Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te, imposible para sa Taiwan na tawaging motherland ang Beijing dahil mas matanda ito sa People's Republic of China. Sa kanyang talumpati sa isang concert na nagmamarka sa simula ng selebrasyon ng bansa ng kanilang National Day sa ika-10 ng Oktubre, ay inilarawan nila ang malaking diferensya sa edad ng pagkakatatag ng dalawang republika ng China at Taiwan. Base sa datos ng People's Republic of China o Beijing at nagtapos lang ng kanilang pang 75th anniversary, habang ang Republic of China o Taiwan naman sa iilang araw ay magugunitanan ng kanilang 113th National Day.
最近，我们的邻居中华人民共和国10月1号刚过完75岁生日，再过几天，中华民国就要过113岁生日。因此，就年纪来说，中华人民共和国是绝对不可能成为中华民国人民的祖国。 反倒是中华民国可能是中华人民共和国75岁以上的民众的祖国，大家说对不对？不过，中华民国在台澎金马落地生根已经75年，我们是不必再去谈论这一层关系了。
Ayon sa mga eksperto, sinabi ito ni President Lai bilang tugon sa talumpati ni Xi Jinping kamakailan lang kung saan sinabi niyang layo ng Chinese Communist Party na puksain ang konsepto ng independensya para sa Taiwan upang tulungang mapag-isa na nila ang kanilang tinatawag na motherland. Inaasahang gagatungan pa ni President Lai Ching-te ang kanyang mga komento sa kanyang talumpati sa paparating na National Day ng kanyang bansa. Kasalukuyang hindi pa nagbibigay ng komento ang China's Taiwan Affairs Office.
我们在庆祝各项活动的时候，其实最重要有一样意义，也就是我们一定要铭记，我们是一个主权独立的国家，我们要爱我们的国家，时时爱我们的国家。 同时，要学习先贤先烈的精神，牺牲奉献。我们要团结守护国家主权，维护民主、自由、人权的生活方式，才不辜负这么多年来牺牲奉献的每一个人。大家说对吗？
Posibleng maglunsad ng military drills ang China sa palibot ng Taiwan ngayong linggo. Kasunod po yan na matapang na pahayag ni Taiwan President Lai Ching-te na imposibleng maging motherland ng Taiwan ang China. Tila nagpagalit naman ito sa China na matagal nang hinahangad ang reunification ng Taiwan na itinuturing itong bahagi ng kanilang teritoryo. Sa ngayon, wala pang tugon dito ang China, subalit ayon sa isang senior Taiwan security official, base sa nakalap na intelligence ng Taiwan at assessment ng kanilang gobyerno, posibleng isagawa ng China ang tinatawag nitong Joint Sword 2024B exercises. Matatandaang noong Mayo, naglunsad din ng punishment drills ang China sa palibot ng Taiwan matapos naman ang inaugurasyon ni Lai na tinawag ng China ang kanilang tugon sa separatist acts ni Lai kung saan nagpadala ito ng armed warplanes at naglunsad pa ng mock attacks na tinawag ng China bilang Joint Sword 2024A.
Muling magpupulong ang mga lider ng Southeast Asian nation sa Laos ngayong linggo sa gitna ng tumataas na tensyon sa West Philippine Sea at tila walang katapusang civil war sa Myanmar. Mula nang itatag noong 1967, nakabuo ang ASEAN ng isang strukturang pampolitika at proseso na nakatutulong sa mapayapang kooperasyon sa rehiyon. Ngunit ayon kay dating Indonesian Foreign Ministry Marty Natalegawa, ang kawalan ng kakayahan ng bloc na tugunan ng mga issue sa rehiyon ay maaaring nagpapakita ng mas malalim na problema sa loob ng grupo. Halos walang progresong makikita sa inisyatibo ng ASEAN para sa kapayapaan sa Myanmar mula nang ilunsad ito noong 2021. Sa halip ay lumala pa ang karahasan matapos bumuo ng isang malaking armadong kilusan ang mga rebelde sa bansa. Isa pa sa mga ikinababahala ng marami ay ang tumitinding tensyon sa South China Sea sa pagitan ng China at ng Pilipinas at kamakailan lamang ng Vietnam. Noong nakaraang linggo, nagprotesta ang Vietnam laban sa umano'y pag-aatake ng China sa kanilang mga mangingisda malapit sa mga pinag-aagawang isla.
Nagkasundo ang South Korea at Singapore na sumailalim sa isang strategic partnership sa susunod na taon. Ayon kay Prime Minister Lawrence Wong ay napapanahon na ang 50 taong makalipas ang pagtatatag ng relasyon ng South Korea at Singapore. Pumirma ang dalawang bansa ng extradition treaty na naglalayong palalimin ang kanilang ugnayan sa aspeto ng artificial intelligence, defense, climate change at ang pagpapalakas ng kanilang free trade pact. Pinuri din ni Wong ang South Korea kung saan inihambing niya ito sa isang tigreng na kayanang iahon at baguhin ang kanilang ekonomiya. Sa ngayon, tumatayo ang South Korea bilang pangatlong pinakamalaking importer ng liquefied natural gas o LNG. At ang Singapore naman ang tumatayong isang major LNG hub kung kaya't ikinabuti na rin ang dalawang kampo na pumasok sa naturang joint venture.
Sinabi ni North Korean leader Kim Jong-un na gagawin niyang prioridad ng kanyang bansa ang pagiging military superpower nito. Sa kanyang talumpati, sinabi ni Kim na nais niyang maging isang military superpower ang kanyang bansa sa pamamagitan ng kanilang nuklear na armas. Dagdag pa ito sa nauna na niyang pahayag na hindi magdadalawang isip ang kanyang bansa na gamitin ang kanilang mga nuclear weapons kung makatatanggap sila ng banta sa kanilang soberanya. Kinundi na pa ni Kim ang Seoul dahil sa di umano'y pakikipagsabuatan nito sa Estados Unidos upang maitumba ang kanyang bansa. Bumuelta naman ito kung saan sinabi niyang wala siyang intensyon na atakihin ng South Korea, ngunit nadidismaya ito sa pananalig ng South Korea sa kanilang mga kaalyado sa kabila ng kakulangan nila ng mga sandatang tatapat sa Pyongyang. Ayon sa mga ulat ng eksperto ay naghahanda ang North Korea na gumawa ng bagong nuclear submarine upang palakasin pang lalo ang kanilang arsenal. Noong nakaraang linggo lamang ay pinarada ng South Korea ang kanilang mga armas sa paggunita ng Annual Armed Forces Day ng kanilang bansa, kung saan gumawa rin ng isang flypast ang isang US strategic bomber.
Samantala, nais naman ng China na magbigay ng emergency medical supplies sa Lebanon habang umiigting ng labanan sa pagitan ng Israel at Hezbollah. Sa pahayag ni China International Development Cooperation Agency spokesperson Li Ming ay kanyang sinabi na at the request of the Lebanese government, the Chinese government has decided to provide emergency humanitarian medical supplies to Lebanon to help Lebanon carry out medical assistance as explosions and airstrikes have occurred in many places in Lebanon, causing a large number of casualties. Ang China po o ang China International Development Cooperation Agency o CIDCA ay opisyal na ahensya ng Beijing na nakatuon sa pagbibigay ng tulong sa ibang mga bansa. Iilang araw pa lamang makalipas ay nagpalipad ang Hezbollah ng mga rockets papunta sa lungsod ng Haifa habang ang Israel naman ay pumuposisyon ng sakupin ang ilang teritoryo sa timog na bahagi ng Lebanon isang taon makalipas ang pag-atake ng Hamas. Patuloy na kumakalat ang kaguluhan sa Middle East ng pahilaga buhat sa pagsuporta naman ng Hezbollah sa kanilang kaalyadong grupong Hamas na parehas namang sinusuportahan ng Iran.
中方高度关注当前黎以的紧张局势。我们应黎巴嫩政府的请求，中国政府呢决定向黎巴嫩提供紧急人道主义医疗物资援助，帮助黎方开展医疗救助工作。中国国家国际发展合作署已经发布了有关消息，你可以查阅。
Sinabi ng militar ng Ukraine na nagsagawa sila ng isang pag-atake sa isang malaking oil terminal sa baybayin ng Crimean Peninsula. Ayon sa mga opisyal sa Kiev, naglunsad ang bansa ng pag-atake sa Feodia Terminal, ang pinakamalaking oil processing facility sa lugar. Hindi kinumpirma ng mga opisyal ng Russia sa Crimea ang pag-atake, ngunit inamin ang pagkakaroon ng sunog sa pasilidad. Walang iniulat na nasawi mula sa pagsabog, ngunit nagdeklara ng emergency ang mga opisyal at humigit kumulang 300 katao ang inilikas mula sa Feodia dahil sa sunog.
Inakyat na po ng Vietnam at France ang kanilang ugnayan sa pinakamataas na level o isang comprehensive strategic partnership.
Au moment où les crises internationales provoquent ou accélèrent la fragmentation du monde, nos deux pays suivent la même boussole, le droit international. Cette approche vaut pour toutes les géographies, au Moyen-Orient, en Ukraine, où la Russie mène une guerre d'agression, comme en mer de Chine méridionale. Dans ce contexte, il est d'autant plus nécessaire de porter des initiatives qui nous permettent de nous redonner collectivement des objectifs convergents.
Matapos ang joint statement ukol sa kanilang partnership ay pinag-usapan naman ng dalawang bansa ang pagpapalakas ng ugnayan nila ukol sa kanilang seguridad at depensa. Napapanahon ito sa pagbisita ni Vietnamese President To Lam sa Paris na naglalarawan ng importansya ng Vietnam sa pagtulay ng mga global supply chain. Senyalis din ito na matagumpay na advokasya ng Vietnam na gawing mas maluwag ang kanilang foreign policy o ang binansagang bamboo diplomacy. Iniulat ng mga pahayagan na nagkasundo ang pareha sa kampo na palakasin ang kanilang mga programa ukol sa aspeto ng aerospace, artificial intelligence at airport transport infrastructure. Tinatansyang nagkakahalaga ng $3.4 billion ang magiging total trade turnover sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa. Kabilang na ang France sa nakatayong kasunduan ng Vietnam sa United States, China, India, South Korea, Japan, Russia at Australia.
Việt Nam quan ngại trước những nguy cơ xung đột lan rộng tại Trung Đông, Ukraine và diễn biến phức tạp tại Biển Đông, và cũng sẵn sàng cùng với Pháp tham gia đóng góp một cách có trách nhiệm vào những cái nỗ lực chung nhằm tìm kiếm những cái giải pháp hòa bình cho những vấn đề nêu trên, vì hợp tác và phát triển tại mỗi khu vực và trên phạm vi toàn thế giới.
Inakusahan si Argentinian President Javier Milei ng Argentina ng pagpe-plagiarize na malaking bahagi ng kanyang talumpati sa United Nations General Assembly mula sa political drama na The West Wing. Isang local newspaper sa Buenos Aires ang nag-ulat na kinopya umano ni President Milei word for word ang isang monolog ng fictional president na si Josiah Jed Bartlett mula sa naturang palabas. Ang pagkakahawig ng dalawang talumpati ay nakakatawag pansin sa Argentina at iniugnay ng isa pang newspaper sa pagkahumaling ng chief strategist ni Milei na si Santiago Caputo sa palabas na The West Wing. Marami rin ang nagbigay diin sa nakakatawang paggaya ng isang right-wing politician na katulad ni Milei na gumagaya umano mula sa isang fictional Democratic president na kilala dahil sa kanyang pagiging progresibo.
Sa unang anibersaryo ng pag-atake ng Hamas sa Israel na naging mitya ng giyerang naglunsad ng protesta sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo, nagbabala si Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, na yung mga nais wasakin ng Israel ay magbabayad. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay Yolanda Aspiras.
Ayon kay Israeli Ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, ang 7 ng Oktubre ay bangungot nilang nagkatotoo. Anya nilusob ng mga teroristang Hamas ang kanilang mga komunidad upang mangmasaker, manggahasa at mandukot ng kanilang mga mamamayan. Dagdag ni Danon, hindi nagpakita ang mga ito ng awa at pumatay ng mga lalaki, babae at mga bata na naging dahilan ng pagkakahiwa-hiwalay ng mga pamilya at pagkawasak ng maraming komunidad.
Good afternoon. October 7 wasn't just another dark day in Jewish history. It was our worst nightmare realized. Hamas terrorists invaded our communities in order to massacre, rape, and kidnap our brothers and sisters. They showed no mercy, slaughtering men, women, and children, ripping apart families, and destroying entire communities.
Tinuligsa ni Danon ang United Nations at sinabing binigo nito ang Israel. Ayon kay Danon, nanahimik ang UN nang atakihin ng Hamas ang Israel.
Today, at 3 p.m., we are holding a memorial for the victims here at the United Nations, an institution that has failed us time and time again. When the massacre of October 7 unfolded, the UN refused to act. It couldn't find the most basic morality to condemn. One condemnation of the brutal murder of innocent civilians. And it could not bring itself to call out the atrocities for what they were. Instead of standing with the innocent, this institution remained silent. When it finally found its voice, it did not speak for justice. It chose to vilify us, the country fighting to protect its people from the monsters who massacred us. The UN has failed in its most basic mandate to protect the innocent and condemn evil.
Nagbanta si Deno na sinuman ang nais maghasik ng pinsala sa Israel ay mananagot at magbabayad.
We are following what's happening in Israel. Earlier today, we intercepted a ballistic missile that was launched from Yemen at our civilians in the center of Israel. We will continue to monitor what's happening. We continue to fight in multiple fronts. We are deploying all necessary capabilities against our enemies, both in defense and offense. And I can tell Iran and their proxies, they should know, we will decide when and where, but there will be a response. There will be a response. We will ensure that all those who seek to destroy us will pay the price for their actions. Thank you.
High alert ang puwersang seguridad sa buong bansa dahil sa posibilidad na pag-atake ng Palestine ngayong anibersaryo. Sa kasalukuyan, may 101 bihag pa ang nasa Gaza sa kabila ng pang-iipit ng Israel upang wakasan na ang Hamas na namumuno sa Gaza. Yolanda Aspiras para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Dumalo si Republican Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance sa isang rally sa Washington, D.C. sa anibersaryo ng labanang Israel-Hamas. Sa kanyang talumpati, sinabi ni Vance na ang 7 ng Oktubre ay hindi lamang pag-alala sa pag-atake laban sa Israel at sa Jewish people, kundi pag-atake rin ito umano laban sa Amerika. Rosel Feria po para sa balita.
Hinikayat ni Republican Vice President candidate J.D. Vance ang mga taga-Amerika na tuligsain ang mga aksyong tulad ng ginawang pag-atake ng Hamas sa Israel.
Not since the Holocaust, almost 70 years ago, almost 80 years ago, have we had such a terrible attack on innocent Jewish life. Sadly, many Americans do not know the full truth of the Holocaust, and many Americans do not know the full truth of what really happened on October the 7th. Many don't know that more than 1,000 people, including 32 innocent American citizens, were killed. Many do not know that 252 people, including 12 Americans, were taken hostage by Hamas, and that Hamas has held American citizens hostage this entire time. I know, of course, it was Israel and it was Jewish people who were most affected by what happened on October the 7th. But we can't ever let the American media, we can't ever let our fellow citizens forget that October the 7th was not just an attack on Israel, and it was not just an attack on Jews, it was an attack on Americans, and every single American of common sense and principle must reject it.
Tinuligsa rin ng Ohio Senator sina Pangulong Joe Biden at Pangalawang Pangulong Kamala Harris at tinawag na kahiyahiya na walang ginawa ang mga ito upang wakasan ng gera o tiyaking mapakawalan ang mga bihag. Hinimok nito si Vice President Harris na gamitin ang autoridad na mapauwi na ang mga bihag. Noong 7 ng Oktubre 2023, sa kanilang bigla ang pag-atake sa mga bayan ng Israel at sa kibbutz villages malapit sa Gaza border, pumatay ang mga militanteng Hamas ng may 1,200 mga tao at dumukot ng may 1,200 bihag pabalik ng Gaza. Bilang ganti, naglungsad ang Israel ng opensiba na pumatag sa Gaza na punong-puno ng mga residente at pumatay sa may 42,000 na mga taga-roon. Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Papunta si US President Joe Biden patungong Angola sa darating na linggo na kanyang unang pagbisita sa isang bansa sa Africa mula nang siya ay umupo sa pwesto. Bibisitahin ni President Biden ang Angola mula Oktubre 13 hanggang 5. Nauna na nagkita sina Biden at Angolan President João Lourenço sa White House noong 2023 kung kailan binigyan diin ito ang kritikal na kahalagahan ng Afrika. Dagdag pa niya na walang bansang mas mahalaga sa Angola sa kontinente. Ipinapakita ng pagbisitang ito ang pagtaas ng interes ng makapangyarihang mga bansa sa mundo sa mga bansa sa Afrika na may maraming mahalagang mineral na magagamit sa electric vehicles at iba pa.
Samantala, tumanggi si US Vice President Kamala Harris na tawaging isang close ally o malapit na kaalyado si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Sa isang media interview ay tinanong si Harris kung paano matutugunan ng Estados Unidos ang $1 bilyong na military aid na kailangan ng Israel. Sinabi ni Harris na pinayuhan ng Washington si Netanyahu na magkaroon ng isang ceasefire sa Middle East. Dahil dito ay muling tinanong si Harris kung ang Estados Unidos ba ay totoong malapit na kaalyado ni Netanyahu. Tila umiwas ang vice-presidente sa direktang pagsagot, sa halip ay kanyang pinaliwanag na ang mas importanteng tanong ay kung mayroon bang mahalagang alyansa sa pagitan ng mga mamamayang Amerikano at ng mga Israeli. Sinagot niya ang sarili niyang tanong ng oo, subalit hindi niya pa rin tiniyak o tiyaking banggitin kung kaalyado niya ba ang Israeli Prime Minister.
Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine. Ito po ang tahasang sinabi ni US Vice President at Democratic Presidential nominee Kamala Harris nang tanungin siya sa isang interview kung makikipag-usap ba siya kay Russian President Vladimir Putin upang matuldukan na ang giyera sa pagitan ng Moscow at Kyiv. Binigyan din ni Harris na dapat ay kasali ang Ukraine sa anumang diplomatikong pakikipag-ugnayan tungkol sa kinabukasan nito. Partikular na nga ang giyerang kinasasangkutan ng bansa. Nang tanungin naman ng Vice Presidente kung sinusuportahan nito ang matagal ng kahilingan ng Ukraine na makasali ng NATO, ay hindi siya nagbigay ng direktang sagot. Subalit, sinabi niyang haharapin lamang ng kanyang administrasyon ang isyong ito kung dumating na sa puntong dapat itong isipin. Sa ngayon, anya, ay sinusuportahan niya ang Ukraine sa layunin nitong depensahan ang sarili laban sa Russia.
Nagbabala ang North Korea na haharap sa tragic consequences ang NATO kung patuloy nitong kukondenahin ang pakikipagkaibigan ng Pyongyang at Moscow. Isang tagapagsalita mula sa Foreign Ministry ng North Korea ang nagsabi na gagawin ng Pyongyang ang lahat ng kinakailangang hakbang upang mabawasan ang banta ng Estados Unidos. Anya ay kinalulungkot ng North Korea ang patuloy na pagsuporta ng NATO sa Ukraine at inakusahan din ito ang defense bloc na pinalalawak umano ng NATO ang impluwensya nito sa Korean Peninsula at sa Asia. Ayon sa ilang pahayagan at war analysts, nagpapadala ang North Korea ng mga missiles sa Russia para labanan nito ang Ukraine. Napapadalas rin nila ang pagbisita ni Putin kay North Korean leader Kim Jong-un upang humingi ng tulong ng mga bala at mga missiles. Itinatanggi naman ng North Korea na nagsusupply ito ng mga gamit panggiyera sa Russia. Susunod, 20 katao patay dahil sa matinding pagbaha sa Bosnia.
Taylor Swift, kinilalang pinakamayamang babaeng singer sa buong mundo.
At rugby team ng Pilipinas, nagwagi ng 2 gintong medalya. Mga balita pong yan sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Naghahanda na ang Florida sa pagtama ng Category 5 hurricane matapos ang pagsalanta ng Hurricane Helene. Ayon sa ulat ng National Hurricane Center, inaasahang tatama si Milton sa araw na Miyerkules sa Tampa Bay region bilang isang Category 5 hurricane. Nagdeklara na ng evacuation order ang local authorities sa lahat ng residente sa Tampa Bay dahil sa inaasahang storm surge. Ang Tampa metro area ay may populasyong higit kumulang 3.3 milyong katao. Sa naging pananalasa ng Hurricane Helene, 12 katao ang nasawi dito. Nitong Lunes, patuloy na lumakas ang Hurricane Milton habang binabaybay ang silangang bahagi ng Gulf of Mexico kung saan meron itong lakas na 165 miles per hour.
Patay ang nasa 20 katao sa Bosnia matapos itong tamaan ng matinding pagbaha at pagguho ng lupa. Ayon sa mga otoridad ay mula sa Herzegovina, Neretva Canton ang 16 na nasawi habang pinaghahanap naman ang 9 na iba pang nawawala. Dagdag pa rito ang 3 tao na natagpo ang patay sa pagbaha na mula sa sentro ng Bosnia Canton. Bukod rito ay isang bangkay ng lalaki ang nakuha mula sa lawa na malapit sa village ng Butorovic, Polye kung saan 2 tao ang kanilang nailigtas. Sarado rin hanggang ngayon at hindi madaanan ang mga kalsada sa lugar kasama na ang biyahe sa mga train station. Samantala, patuloy pa rin ang isinasagawang search and rescue operation sa mga tao na ilang araw nang nawawala mula sa matinding pagbaha.
Napinsala ang higit sa 10 milyong hektarya ng lupain sa Bolivia. Ito po ay matapos kumalat doon ang wildfires. Ayon sa non-governmental organization Tierra Foundation, ang bagong datos na inilabas ay mas mataas kumpara noong taong 2010 hanggang 2019. Kabilang po dito ang wildfire na tumama sa Santa Cruz na malapit sa Brazil kung saan aabot sa 7 milyong hektarya naman ang nasunog. Pahirapan naman para sa mga bumbero ang pagpatay sa magkakasunod na insidente ng wildfires sa nasabing lugar. Kasunod nito ay ang pagdeklara ng gobyerno ng Bolivia ng national disaster bilang tugon sa seguridad ng mga residente.
Patay ang 5 katao habang nasa 200 ang dinala sa ospital matapos ang air show sa Chennai, India. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, isinagawa ang air show sa Marina Beach bilang bahagi sa pagdiriwang ng ika-72 anibersaryo ng Indian Air Force. Sinisi naman ni All India Ana Dravida Munetra Kajagam leader Edapadi Palaniswamy ang kakulangan ng pagpaplano at crowd management sa lugar. Anya, dahil sa dinagsa ito ng libu-libong mga tao, ay karamihan sa mga ito ay nahimatay sa sobrang init at nasawi dahil sa dehydration. Matapos ang event ay agad nagpadala ang otoridad ng 2 medical teams na may doktor at nurse para sa emergency response. Nagsimula ang air show alas 11 ng umaga hanggang 1:00 ng hapon kung saan karamihan sa mga manonood ay magdamag na tiniis ang sikat ng araw.
Sumugod ang nasa 50 katugatan sa isang convenience store sa Anaheim, California para sa isang nakawan. Kita sa video na pinipilit na buksan ng isang lalaki ang pinto ng store. Matapos ang ilang beses na pagtangka buksan, ay lumantad ang store clerk hawak ang handle ng pinto. Dito na lumaban ang store clerk, subalit bigo itong mapigilan pumasok ang iba pang mga kawatan. Nagtamo naman ng minor injuries ang store clerk kung saan ay dumugo ang kanyang ilong. Nagsagawa na ng criminal investigation ng Orange County Police. Ito na ang pinakahuling serye ng krimen ng pagnanakaw sa ibang sangay ng convenience store.
Tinagurian bilang pinakamayamang babaeng singer sa buong mundo ang American pop star na si Taylor Swift. Ayon sa Forbes ay aabot na sa $1.6 billion ang kabuuang net worth ni Swift ngayong taon. Kasunod ito ng kanyang mga record-breaking Eras Tour na nakapagtala ng $600 milyong na kita mula sa concert sales at royalties. Kasama pa rito ang nasa $600 milyong na music catalog na mula naman sa kanyang mga Taylor's version. Dagdag pa rito ang nasa higit sa $115 o $15 milyong ng real estate at mga ari-arian. Samantala, ilan sa mga hit songs ni Swift ay ang mga kantang Fearless, Red Love Story, 1989 at marami pang iba.
Sinabi ni U.S. Judge James Donato sa kanyang final ruling sa kaso ng Epic versus Google na dapat gawing patas ang pamamalakad ng Google App Store sa iba pang mga kakumpetensya nito. Ayon sa naging desisyon ni Donato, dapat bigyan ng pagkakataon ng mga karibal na third-party app stores na makabawi naman mula sa Google Play. Batay sa final ruling simula November 1 hanggang November 2027, dapat masunod ni Google ang mga binigay na pamantayan ni Donato sa kumpanya. Ilan sa mga ito ang pagsasaayos ng payment system sa Google Play billing kung saan ay illegal umanong nakakatali ito o nakatali sa App Store. Ibig sabihin po nito, pwede na mag-download ang Epic Game Store mula sa Google App Store sa mga susunod na buwan. Naniniwala naman ang Epic na magkakaroon ng tunay na kompetisyon ito mula sa monopolya umano ng Google sa merkado. Samantala, giniit naman ng Google na magkakaroon ng pinsala sa mga American consumers, developers at device makers ang magiging pagbabago sa polisiya ng Google Play Store.
Nagwagi ng 2 gintong medalya ang national rugby team ng bansa na Philippine Volcanoes. Nakuha nila ang gintong medalya ng men's and women's event sa Asia Rugby Emirates Sevens Trophy na ginanap sa Nepal. Noong Sabado ay tinalo ng men's team ang Chinese Taipei 27-14 sa finals habang tinalo naman ng women's team ang India 7-5. Sinabi ni Adam Milby, ang Pangulo ng Philippine Rugby, na labis silang nagagalak sa tagumpay ng rugby team ng ating bansa.
Banned po ngayon sa platform na Kick ang influencer na si Jack Doherty. Ito ay matapos ang huling live stream na kanyang ipinalabas. Aabot sa 15 milyong subscribers ang mayroon si Doherty na nakilala mula sa kanyang mga controversial na prank videos. Makikita sa huling video ang pagbangga ng kanyang $200,000 na McLaren Sports. Kasunod dito ng paggamit niya ng cellphone habang siya ay nagmamaneho sa gitna ng ulan na nauwi sa pagbangga nito. Ibinahagi rin niya ang sumunod na pangyayari sa insidente kung saan maririnig na humihingi ito ng tulong. Dagdag pa rito ay inutusan niya rin ang isang tao sa paligid na hawakan ito ang kamera habang inilalabas siya mula sa bintana ng sasakyan. Kaagad naman po binatiko sa mga netizens kung saan mas binigyan nito ng pansin ang nabangga niyang sasakyan kumpara sa sugatan niyang cameraman. Susunod, Kamala Harris binatikos ng netizens matapos ang guesting sa isang podcast.
Mga movie props at memorabilia itinakdang isubasta.
At abangan ang iba pa mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Mata ng Agila World News.
This Sunday on Cine Throwback.
battle between these two great drivers.
42 days after his near-fatal accident, Niki Lauda will race here today.
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on Net 25.
Let's net together. Sa Net 25.
Pilipinas, isang bansang arkipelago na nahahati sa tatlong pangunahing pulo, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Binubuo ng 7,641 islands na napaliligiran ng mga anyong tubig. Kinikilala sa likas nitong ganda, kamanghamanghang kultura at kaaya-ayang turismo. Nakahanda ng sumayad ang aming gulong, umaraw man o umulan, baon namin ng iisang layunin na makapaghatid ng bagong kwento habang nakasampa sa aming motorsiklo. Isasama namin kayo tuwing Sabado, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is Motorcycle Republic.
Let's net together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Binatikos ngayon ang mga netizens ang ginawang guesting ni Vice President Kamala Harris sa Call Her Daddy podcast. Nainis ang mga manonood sa inilabas ng podcast dahil sa mga katanungan na ibinigay sa kanya na naging dahilan para tawagin nila itong political show. Kabilang sa mga komento ng mga galit na netizens ay dapat na i-unsubscribe at i-unfollow daw ang naturang podcast. Ikinadismaya nila na nagmukhang propaganda ang interview ng host at ipinipilit nito na makarelate si Harris sa mga nanonood na Gen Z. Dagdag pa nila ay paulit-ulit lamang ang sinasabi nito, gaya na lamang ng paglaban sa karapatan at issue sa mga utang ng mga estudyante. Samantala, matagal nang inuulan ng kritisismo si Harris dahil sa hindi nito pagdalo sa mga interview kumpara kay Trump na hindi naman tumugon sa imbitasyon ng Call Her Daddy podcast.
At nakatakda pong isubasta ngayon ang ilan sa mga movie props at memorabilia ng ilang hit movies mula November 14 hanggang 17. Aabot sa higit sa 1,800 mga items ang ibebenta sa annual live auction ng entertainment memorabilia auctioneer na kung tawagin po ay prop store. Inaasahan naman na ang kabuang bilang ng mga movie props ay maibebenta sa halagang $13 milyong pataas. Kabilang sa mga dapat na abangang items ay ang props mula sa mga palabas na kagaya ng Star Wars, Batman, James Bond at Harry Potter. Agaw pansin dito ang Hurricane ng Star Wars na parehong ginamit sa The Empire Strikes Back at Return of the Jedi. Samantala, tampok rin sa mga collectible items ay ang Russell Crowe's Maximus Arena helmet at maskara na mula naman sa Gladiator. At narito po kami upang magatid ng balita sa anumang dako ng mundo. Muli ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Alagao, Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma para sa mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles, and here are tonight's headlines. Monster Hurricane Milton, now a catastrophic Category 5 storm, bears down on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula en route to Florida. Over 1 million residents along Florida's coast have been ordered to evacuate as the state braces for potential devastation. Officials warn of life-threatening conditions.
In this purple area, we are predicting 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. Put that in perspective, I'm 6 feet tall. That's more than 2 of me high.
In a major development from Lebanon, Israel has eliminated a key Hezbollah commander. The Israeli Defense Forces confirm a precision strike in Beirut killed Suhail Husseini, who managed Hezbollah's most critical operations and war planning. Hezbollah has yet to respond to this significant blow. And nature's light show in the north. And on a brighter note, spectacular Aurora Borealis illuminates Lapland skies. The Northern Lights have put on an extraordinary display, painting the Arctic night in vibrant colors, offering a momentary respite from global tensions. The news starts now. Hurricane Milton, now classified as a Category 5 storm, is an imminent threat to Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula as it heads toward Florida. In response, Florida authorities have initiated widespread evacuations while the state continues to recover from the destruction caused by Hurricane Helene. Arlene Ocampo reports.
As a Category 5 storm, Milton will be packing maximum sustained winds of 285 kilometers an hour. It's now the third fastest intensifying storm on record in the Atlantic Ocean. Jamie Rome of the National Hurricane Center expects Milton to roar into Florida just after the lunch hour on Wednesday.
Here you can see just offshore the Florida Peninsula, 1 p.m. Wednesday, with max winds of 145 miles per hour.
Rome says storm surges could be as high as 4.5 meters.
If you're in this hurricane warning area, so let's zoom in and look closely at some of the towns. Tampa, Cape Coral, Orlando, basically the entire I-4 corridor. You need to be preparing for hurricane conditions. The purple is going to jump off the map here, and it should. Somewhere in this purple area, not everywhere, somewhere in this purple area, we are predicting 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. Put that in perspective, I'm 6 feet tall. That's more than 2 of me high. And if this is realized, that is more surge than was experienced during Helene. So to sort of put that in perspective.
Not going to hit today. Storm's not going to hit tomorrow. We may start to see some bad weather sometime on Wednesday morning, and then obviously we're anticipating sometime Wednesday evening for the storm to make landfall. So please, you do have time to get out. So please do it.
Already, people are fleeing areas where Milton is expected hit. Traffic is heavy as people drive to safety. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says President Joe Biden has promised additional help for Florida.
Finally, the president was briefed yesterday and again today on the potential impacts of Hurricane Milton, which forecasts to become a Category 5 storm and make landfall Wednesday on the western coast of Florida. As with Helene, FEMA and other federal agencies are actively pre-positioning life-saving resources in advance of the storm. And earlier today, the president approved Governor of Florida's request for an emergency disaster declaration, which unlocks additional federal resources to help the state respond to the storm. To everyone in the path of Milton, the time to prepare is right now.
In the Florida community of Seminole, residents are preparing for the storm. Tammy Bowling says she hopes the preparation will protect her home, and she says she won't be around when the flooding starts.
I'm out here to fill up my sandbags. I didn't do it last time, and this time I want to feel better inside my home and hopefully protect some of my stuff. Water got up into our driveway, and I don't want it to happen.
Florida is still littered with debris from Hurricane Helene. Governor Ron DeSantis says the state will try to clean up as much of the mess as possible before Milton hits.
We had a lot of debris left from Hurricane Helene on Florida's Gulf Coast. That creates a huge hazard if you have a major hurricane hit in that area this week. So we've marshaled state assets to be able to help with that mission.
Milton is the season's 9th hurricane and the second Atlantic storm to reach Category 5 this season. Arlene Ocampo for Net 25 News.
Israelis gathered to mark the first anniversary of the October 7th Hamas attack with growing frustration over the 101 hostages still held in Gaza. A video from Hamas spokesman raised alarms about the captives' fate, warning time is running out for negotiations. Family members are expressing anger towards Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as protests call for action to secure the hostages' release. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
The ominous message came in a video statement delivered by a masked Hamas military spokesman. The man is believed to be Qassam Brigade spokesman Abu Obaida. He says the fate of the remaining hostages is hanging by a thread if the Israeli government does not expedite negotiations to reach a hostage exchange deal. Family and friends of the hostages held several events Monday in Israel. In Tel Aviv, these people held a silent protest. They're angry with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for not reaching an agreement to secure the release of the captives. A more vocal demonstration took place before an alternative ceremony to mark the anniversary of the Hamas attack. Gil Dickman's cousin died in captivity, and he says the government failed the hostages.
To the Israeli government, I say, look, this is how it's supposed to look. It's not about you. It's not about the government. You failed. It's about the families. We will decide how the future looks because we have paid the most unbelievable price on October 7th and after that. And the fact that you failed to get the hostages back, that 27 hostages were murdered in captivity, just goes to show you how big of a failure it is.
Yonatan Shamriz also criticized Netanyahu for prolonging the war.
It's very, very sad that we are still in a two-front war, and there are more than 100 hostages in Hamas tunnels. And I think our leadership is a lack of vision and lack of leadership and strategic plan. And it's very, very frustrating for me and for my community.
On the side of a Tel Aviv highway, women created a human chain in honor of the remaining captives.
We're doing a human chain because today we are a year after the 7th of October, and we're here to remind everybody that we still got 101 hostages in Gaza, and we must bring them home, and the only way to bring them home is with a hostage deal.
In Jerusalem, about 300 people rallied outside Netanyahu's home. They held up photos of their loved ones and observed a minute of silence as a siren sounded. And they expressed their frustration and despair.
We can't believe it's a year. It's a year that just disappeared, vanished. We're still stuck in October 7th, 2023, in one non-ending day of terror, of fear, of anger, of despair.
We're standing right here in Jerusalem, outside the Prime Minister's house, because it's been a year since so many Israelis were taken, kidnapped by Hamas, and they're still there.
As it stands now, there appears to be no ceasefire deal, no hostage deal in the cards. For the remaining hostages, they face a fragile future. Thomas I. Likeness, Net 25 World News.
In a dramatic escalation of Middle East tensions, Iran launched its first ever direct attack on Israel today, firing a barrage of ballistic missiles that lit up the night sky over multiple locations.
Ballistic missiles fired by Iran streaked over the sky on their way to Israel on Tuesday, retaliation for Israel's campaign against Tehran's Hezbollah allies in Lebanon. The missiles are seen here over the West Bank's Hebron, and in Tel Aviv with sirens blaring and air defenses intercepting the projectiles. Alarms sounded across Israel and sent people scrambling for shelter. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps said the missile salvo was in retaliation for recent Israeli killings of militant leaders and aggression in Lebanon and Gaza. Israel said more than 180 missiles were launched. The attack drew vows of a sharp response from both Israel and the United States, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying Iran made a big mistake and will pay for it. The Pentagon said U.S. Navy warships helped Israel intercept the missiles. U.S. President Joe Biden said Iran's attack was, quote, ineffective.
Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel.
Iran's foreign ministry said its operation was defensive and was only directed at Israeli military and security facilities. No injuries were reported in Israel, but authorities in the occupied West Bank said one man was killed there. Meanwhile, in Tehran, people celebrated the bombardment. Some hoisted posters of the recently assassinated Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, locked in nearly a year of war, also celebrated as the rockets headed towards Israel. The missile strikes come after Israel said its troops launched ground raids into Lebanon, which it has described as limited. But a ground campaign into Lebanon for the first time in 18 years, pitting Israeli soldiers against Hezbollah, Iran's best armed proxy force in the Middle East, would be a major regional escalation. The Lebanese Health Ministry said more than 50 people were killed and more than 150 wounded in Israeli attacks across Lebanon on Tuesday.
In a shocking escalation of violence in Mexico's Guerrero state, the newly elected mayor of Chilpancingo has been found decapitated just 6 days after taking office. Take a look.
In the capital of Mexico's violence-plagued state of Guerrero, police hold the scene where its new mayor was found dead. Alejandro Arcos had only been mayor of Chilpancingo for 6 days before being killed on Sunday, according to Guerrero's governor. Photos had circulated on WhatsApp depicting a severed head on top of a pickup truck, appearing to be that of Arcos. Reuters could not independently verify the photo's authenticity. Guerrero State's Attorney General's office said it was investigating his murder. 3 days before the mayor was murdered, the new city government secretary was also killed. He was shot to death. The head of Mexico's PRI political party has called on the federal attorney general's office to lead the investigation into both deaths, given, quote, the situation of ungovernability in Guerrero. It's become one of the deadliest states for aspiring and elected public officials, as well as for journalists. At least 6 candidates for public office were killed in the state in the run-up to Mexico's June 2nd elections.
El lamentable suceso del presidente municipal de Chilpancingo.
On Monday, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum spoke about the case.
Las investigaciones necesarias.
She said her cabinet planned to roll out a new security strategy on Tuesday.
A historic drought is gripping the Amazon rainforest with water levels. The mighty Amazon is running dry. In Manaus, Brazil, the Rio Negro has hit its lowest level in over a century, and the port of Manaus is measuring the Rio Negro at just 41.5 feet, and that's the lowest it's been since record-breaking began 122 years ago. And this isn't just about one river. The entire Amazon region is suffering from severe drought. Scientists point to climate change as the primary culprit. Despite being in what should be the rainy season, rainfall remains well below average. With just weeks to go before the November 5th election, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump made a defiant return to rural Pennsylvania, where he survived an assassination attempt in July. Rallying a large crowd in the critical battleground state, Trump was joined by a powerful ally, Elon Musk, who echoed calls for the preservation of the Constitution. Angel Membrere reports.
And as I was saying,
Trump began with the phrase, "as I was saying," pretending he was resuming his speech when he was interrupted when he was grazed in the ear by a bullet on July 13th. In mid-speech, Trump called up on stage a powerful ally, Elon Musk.
His name is Elon Musk. He saved free speech. He created so many different great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon. He created the first major American car company in generations, and his rocket company is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
It was his first time at a Trump campaign event since he endorsed the former president after July 13th.
Hi, everyone.
Musk says Trump must win to preserve the Constitution, adding if Trump doesn't win, there may never be another election.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. You know, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight! Blood coming. There's one request, it's very important. Register to vote. Okay? And get everyone you know and everyone you don't know, drag them to register to vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction. Nothing's more important. Nothing's more important. Vote.
In his speech, Trump hinted darkly without evidence about facing an enemy from within.
Exactly 12 weeks ago this evening on this very ground, a cold-blooded assassin aimed to silence me and to silence the greatest movement, MAGA, in the history of our country. MAGA. We love MAGA. For 16 harrowing seconds during the gunfire, time stopped as this vicious monster unleashed pure evil from his sniper's perch, not so far away. But by the hand of Providence and the grace of God, that villain did not succeed in his goal.
Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, rejected the argument from Vice President Kamala Harris and other Democrats that Trump represents a threat to democracy. On Sunday, Trump traveled to Wisconsin, where he held a rally. Angel Membreri for Net 25 World News.
In a stark warning about foreign interference in U.S. elections, Assistant Attorney General Matt Olson is highlighting intensified efforts by Russia, Iran, and China to influence the upcoming presidential election. Here's what he had to say at a recent Cypher briefing.
What we're really focused right now on is foreign election interference. And look, I think from one vantage point, the threats that we're facing from Iran, Russia, and China in particular, when it comes to our election, are as significant as ever. They are determined and persistent in their efforts to influence our elections, and that can mean a range of things from sowing discord and trying to accelerate divisions within our society.
Now, he emphasized that these threats are more significant than ever, with foreign actors using increasingly sophisticated tactics.
So the tactics are relatively sophisticated, and their efforts are like we're just seeing a real persistent and accelerated amount of activity, particularly from Russia, but also from Iran, I would say.
The Assistant Attorney General also highlighted the proactive stance of U.S. intelligence agencies.
So that's on one side. I would say on the other side, I think we should feel, we should acknowledge that the intelligence community is really forward-leaning in providing public statements. They've issued 3 unclassified statements over the past couple of months at the 100-day mark from the election, 60-day, and now 45-day mark just a couple of days ago, where unclassified intelligence community coming from the Director of National Intelligence statements about here's what the threats we face, here's what we can talk about, here's the tactics they're using.
Olson detailed recent cases involving Russian interference, including a $10 million propaganda scheme using an American company and the creation of fake news websites, mimicking legitimate outlets.
One involved RT, formerly Russia Today. This is the arm of the Kremlin, and it had set up basically a $10 million scheme is what we're charging to use a company based in Tennessee, an American company, and use that company to send propaganda, its propaganda, to influencers on the internet. And these influencers not necessarily witting of what was happening, but effectively acting as the mouthpiece of Putin. and interfering in our elections by issuing propaganda of Russia and disinformation. In another case, sort of a related but separate case, we call it the doppelganger effort by Russia, which was they basically had used internet domains largely as fake news sites like Washington Post, Fox News. Looks just like Washington Post and Fox News, except it's totally fake.
The Justice Department has also identified Iranian efforts targeting a former president's campaign through spear phishing attacks.
And then we've recently also, just a few days ago, called out Iran for its efforts to interfere in the elections through targeted spear phishing campaign against the former president's campaign. So why people should care and why we really are trying to sound the alarm here is that elections are the foundation of our democracy. What makes us different from Russia and China and Iran and authoritarian countries is that we have free and fair elections, and we have to defend those elections.
And tonight we're looking at a major shift in corporate climate commitments. Oil giant BP is making headlines, and not for the reasons you might expect. Remember when companies were racing to announce their green targets? Well, it seems the tide is turning. BP, which promised big cuts in oil production just a few years ago, is now doing a complete U-turn. Back in 2020, BP made what seemed like a game-changing announcement. They pledged to slash their oil output by 40% by 2030. Now, last year, they scaled that back to 25%. And now, they've dropped the target altogether. Not only is BP abandoning its reduction plans, it's actually looking to expand. The company has its sights set on new oil projects, 3 in Iraq, 1 in Kuwait, and 2 in the Gulf of Mexico. So what's behind this dramatic change? Well, it comes down to 2 key factors. First, money. BP shares have taken a hit, down nearly 18% in recent months, and the company is now turning back to what it knows best, oil and gas, to try to boost those numbers. And second, global politics. With Europe moving away from Russian energy, there's a supply crunch. Renewable sources just can't fill the gap fast enough. But here's the thing. It's not just BP, and it's not just oil companies. The auto industry is also pumping the brakes on its green promises. Toyota has cut its electric vehicle target. Volvo scrapped its plan to go all electric by 2030. And Ford's reducing its spending on electric vehicles. And Mercedes-Benz, well, they're pushing back their electric sales goals by 5 years. Even governments are getting cold feet. Britain has delayed its ban on petrol and diesel cars by 5 years. The problem? These climate targets were mostly voluntary to begin with, and there's no real enforcement mechanism. When the going gets tough, whether it's political instability or supply chain issues, these promises seem to evaporate. It's a stark reminder that when it comes to climate action, what companies and countries say they'll do and what they actually do can be very different. Now, before we go on a break, not your typical train commute. A koala decided to take a scenic route through a Sydney train station, and the unexpected visitor caused a brief disruption as police were called to the scene. Take a look. And the news continues here on 25 World News. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
This Sunday on Cine Throwback.
This is an incredible battle between these two great drivers.
42 days after his near-fatal accident, Niki Lauda will race here today.
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on Net 25.
Let's net together. Sunday 25.
A groundbreaking device is offering new hope to stroke patients, helping them regain movement they thought was lost forever. Take a look.
For stroke survivor Lisa Vincent, a simple movement means everything.
It's just amazing, and I don't want to cry, but it makes you want to cry because you know you can do it. It's just positivity all the way now.
4 years ago, a stroke left Lisa's left arm immobile and changed her life completely.
I lost my life. I lost my job. I lost everything. I was a daughter, a mother, a nan, and all that went.
Now, thanks to researchers at Imperial College London, a new wearable device could help stroke patients regain movement. Patrick Sagastegui, co-founder of Newman, explains how it works.
So let's say when you want to grasp an object, normally what is happening is that your brain is sending signal to your muscles. So this device is able to capture this data, if it's happening here, if it's happening there, depending on the type of contraction that you want to do, the movement that you want to do. And then it sends that, and internally in the device, it calculates which muscle is becoming active to then trigger a stimulation within the same muscle, which first will enhance the contraction, and second, it will be like a message that you will send back to the brain.
For Lisa, the results have been life-changing.
Best day. And 3 weeks ago, my daughter put her on my lap and I held her with this arm because I felt in control of the wrist and I was confident enough. And I cried myself to sleep that night. It was amazing that I could do that eventually.
The trial also includes patients like Faisal Hussein, who suffered a severe stroke.
The connection between the motor command from the brain and the sensory feedback from the limb is very important. This tight coupling gonna promote the neuroplasticity, which is the reorganization of the brain, and gonna give him the pathway to have the recovery of the movement of the arm.
His wife Sophia has witnessed his journey.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax.
They basically say it's like, because of the pathways to the brain, it's like he's forgotten he has a right arm, so it's just there, not doing anything. And then just seeing that, it's like, can see he's felt something and remembered, and it's actually moved, so it is quite amazing.
The team plans to expand trials next year at Charing Cross Hospital, hoping to bring this technology to more patients who need it. A spectacular show of northern lights lit up the night sky over Lapland, Finland. Bright red and green auroras danced and exploded across the heavens above Sodankylä, a town north of the Arctic Circle. A local photographer captured the breathtaking display, describing it as the most vibrant red aurora he'd ever seen. The lights were visible to the naked eye, painting the sky with stunning colors all night long.
The Aurora Borealis, or northern lights, occur when charged particles from the sun collide with Earth's atmosphere. Recent solar activity has made these displays more frequent and intense. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.
This program